Good morning, everyone. Per our discussion during yesterday's Zoom meeting, I'm providing you with this recording to help you familiarize yourself with the value of Keynote and its importance with the App Design Challenge that we'll be introducing to our participants during Super Saturday Session 2. So let's go ahead and jump in. But first, I am doing this Zoom recording on my iPad, which is probably why it's like way close up on you. So it's important that you watch this recording on your laptop so that as we're going through the various features of Keynote, you have the opportunity to manipulate your screen on your iPad. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and hopefully this will work perfectly, because once I do this on my iPad, I will not be able to see you anymore. I'm going to go ahead and start our broadcast. And here we go. So I'm going to go ahead and open up Keynote. And let me just go ahead and point out some features to you and the resources that are available for you in module 5 through 8. The first item is right here, which is the Playgrounds app journal. This is something that is available for you to download, and it's going to be a really useful resource for you to have at your disposal already on your device, so that you can provide information to your participants as they are working through the various stages of the prototyping experience. That is what you see on your screen right now. So Brainstorm is basically module 5, Plan, module 6, Prototype, module 7, the app showcase and the whole evaluation process is module 8. So each module will represent these components. In the online course, we're actually going to address modules 5 through 7 on Saturday. So the nice thing about this journal and how it's organized is that you actually have the opportunity to go over to the main page. And so I'm going to cover over Plan. And you will notice that it says 1, 2, 3, 12, 23, 27, 30, 32, and 33. You're saying, well, what happened to what happened to slide number 13? Well, if I click on the smaller triangle, it will bring me all of the information that I need with regards to Plan. So I can look at all of those things at once. And that's focusing on the user interface and the user experience. Similarly, if I click on those triangles, I can close it back, go to slide 3, click on that triangle, and then you'll see the information for Brainstorm under modules, or under the slides, under those various slides. So please make sure that you take the time to download that resource and have that on your device, because it is something that you will probably want to reference and work from as you are moving your participants through the various stages. The second resource, which is a lifesaver for us for the purposes of Saturday, but I know those of you that went to Houston or you participated in the Apple prototype experience in July at the TSU HBCU Academy, you are going to be so jealous when you see this resource. It's this presentation here called the iOS template user interface element. And apparently I have this already because it says it's a copy. I just don't know where the original one is. But it provides you with those templates that we were referencing on our call yesterday. You can get as snazzy as you want to, but we know that for our audience, they're basically going to probably want a basic blank white iPhone layout or a black iPhone layout. So I'm going to modify this presentation so that they will have those choices available to them. And that will hopefully expedite some of the prototyping creation in Keynote, because all they will have to do is layer their ideas on top of the overall template. And I know that for some of our more iPad newbies, that's going to be a really great resource to them. For us and our training purposes, I think it's just a really cool resource to have, because you can get into some of those more intricate buttons, in addition to having the keyboard and some of those other features available if you want to do some more intricate app design. I didn't have this in Houston, but I could see where this would have been a really cool resource for me to have, knowing that I created, for example, I created a lot of the things on our own, and we referenced some of those interface features like a notification screen in our own prototype. So again, that's a resource that I would encourage you to download the entire file, but for the purposes of Saturday, there will be a modified version with just the black iPhone that I referenced, this one here, as well as the white iPhone interface, and they can work from that. So for the purpose of this actual recording, this is where you get to actually touch and play, because for many of you, you're going to be going through some of the same experiences that our participants will be facing on Saturday. So we want to make this fun. We want to make this fluid. And I don't want to say we want to do this fast, but we know that there's going to be a lot going on. And so they want to work, plan, but then also do the prototyping as well. So at this time, I would like for you to click on our plus sign here to create a presentation. And for the purpose of this prototype design, it has been recommended that participants choose between either black or white. So we're going to choose white. At this particular point, most of us in the middle school curriculum in Houston, as well as in Nashville, we were instructed to change the dimensions of our slide to represent the workspace that we would see if we were doing a prototype for an iPhone X or iPhone XR. In order to do that, what you would need to do is to go over to your 3 radio buttons here at the top, go down to document setup, and then you're going to go at the very bottom to this option called slide size. You see that I have the option to basically change my dimensions from portrait to landscape, also to a square model. But again, because the iPhone XR has different features, and I know there's a new iPhone coming out that probably has additional unique specifications, we're going to click on custom. And you see on your screen, it will allow you the opportunity to change the width and the height of your slide. For the iPhone X or the iPhone XR, those dimensions are for width 1, 2, 4, 2, and the height 2, 6, 8, 8. I'm going to click done. And now you see that our slide now gives me the workspace to prototype on a screen that would mirror what I would see on an iPhone or an iPhone XR. And this is useful because you want to help your participants to understand that this is what designers have to consider: the user interface or the user experience. And I don't want to have my content off of my iPhone screen because I didn't design the features within the proper workspace. Something that's important, but try not to get too technical with it and get them scared about interfaces and things like that. Again, with this group, that's probably something that we won't even mention. But if you're doing a standalone academy, that's one of those tidbits that I think it is important to reference. So they're not just trying to do this on a PowerPoint slide and say, hey, this is what it would look like. At this point, let's remember to click done to lock in our dimensions. And now you see that if I click our plus sign at the bottom, all of my new slides will come in with those same specifications. So we only have to change those dimensions one time. But I'm actually going to go back and delete that second slide because I want to lock in and just basically make a lot of my background components standard for every single slide. So I want to edit the master slide. I would like for you to touch and hold down on your slide. And in doing so, you will see a 3-button menu pop up. We're going to select Edit Master Slide. And again, just in case you missed that, I'm going to go back and repeat that step. I want to touch on my slide and touch and hold down, and then I'll get that menu to Edit Master Slide. This will allow you to make changes to your background or to add and layer components that will basically make it like a template. We won't have to worry about this for Saturday because we're going to already have those iPhone templates that I showed you at the beginning of the recording. But for your own skill set, I want to reference this because I know some of you are working with an audience that may want to do some more specific designing to their prototype separate from the iPhone pre-designed templates. At this point, I would like to change my background color. So I'm going to move my mouse over to the plus sign, the paintbrush. And I am now going to manipulate my background color. And we have choices from preset to selecting our own colors to providing a gradient, and then embedding an image. For the purpose of our demo, I'm going to do a nice gradient of our TSU colors with the white at the top and going right into that royal blue at the bottom. Now at this point, I would like to add on some images so that way I don't have to continue doing so on every single slide. I want to have some images locked in on my master slide. The great thing about Keynote is that you can search for images within its gallery. So I would like for you to go over to our third option, or the one that references shapes. And you will see a variety of different categories from basic, object, animals, natures, food. But when you click on these, there's so many to choose from, and you can get lost trying to figure out which image you would like. So I'm going to expedite that by clicking on our magnifying glass to do a simple search. And I want to type in phone. And in doing so, you see that I am left with two choices, a standard phone symbol and one that represents an iPhone symbol. I would like to click on the iPhone, so I'm going to do that. But while it's still highlighted, I'm just going to click and hold down on that image and slide it up. And I'm going to go in, going back up to the plus sign, and actually, the paintbrush sign. And I want to change my image color from blue to black. I'm going to go ahead and click on color. I'm going to select black, since I already have a background that's blue and white. And you will notice that my image, just in case you can't see it, I'm going to click on several other colors. You will notice that as I click on the color, I'm able to manipulate the color of that particular image. And now I'm going to go back onto my screen. And this is really important in some of the differences of having Keynote on your iPad versus your MacBook. I'm going to use my two fingers to zoom in or to zoom out. And similarly, I'm going to click on that iPad image one time and hold down so I can get those radio buttons. And I'm now going to zoom in just a little bit so I can see and get my fingers around those radio buttons. And I'm going to stretch out my image. And just in case you're wondering, you may already have an idea about why I'm doing this. I'm going to stretch it out to basically design my own iPad prototype screen. Again, this is the feature that many of us went through in the actual Apple Academy. We're going to avoid this step with our participants because of the time, but if they were going to do this in a full-fledged academy, that week academy that we had in Apple, these are some of the things that you could do with your, in terms of building your own prototype. So I'm going to lock that in, and now I have my, my own makeshift iPhone screen. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and click done. And now you will see that this is my master slide. I now, if I zoom in, I have the opportunity to tap and edit text. So I'm going to go ahead and say prototype demo. and my double tap to edit for our everyone can code and create training. So now I have this information, and because I'm now on my edit screen, I can move this information where I would like. There we go. So at this point, let's go ahead and add a second slide, because once we start adding slides, you can pretty much have fun. And I would say that minus all the narration I'm giving you for the sake of this training purposes, once they have access to a template, and once you start showing them how to add slides, how to add text, how to add images and hyperlinks, you can pretty much let them go and create and go through the prototyping phase in their own silo. And we as trainers, as Dr. Melton would encourage us to do, we're there to support and encourage and basically let them play, create, ask questions. So I'm going to go over to my plus sign here at the bottom, and I'm going to add my slide. And now I have my master slide, and I can have my app template, and I can continue working from there and make my edits accordingly. So here are some things that I'm just going to do really quick and dirty, just to kind of show you how to create buttons and just some features of Keynote. Your main work tool, after you, if you're not really big into changing colors and color schemes, your main work tool will actually be here under your plus sign. So let's look at that more in depth. I'm going to cancel out my search and just remind you of some of the features that you can add to your Keynote prototype. We have the ability to do a table, add a chart and graph. Maybe there's some data that they want to reflect on their prototype. Add shapes, and I will tell you that shapes and also images are probably going to be two of your most popular features when you're working with your groups on Saturday, and even in your academies at your schools or at various institutions. Those are probably going to be the two most frequently used features when they're doing their app designs, because you're building in those components actually illustrate the features of the apps. So under shapes, as I previously showed you, you have the ability to search for the various things that you're looking for. There are a variety of different categories that you can pull from. Most individuals will probably do a quick search to see if there are already images embedded in Keynote for them to use. Otherwise, they're going to go back over to images and pull them in from the internet or off of their iPhone or iPad gallery. So I'm going to do let's see, I'm going to do countries or globe. So I'm going to go ahead and pull in a globe here, and I'm going to slide that down and have that as a button. Maybe that's a feature that I want to use for translation. And just so that we can see on this image, I'm going to go over to my paintbrush to change those colors so I can actually see it from blue to red, and then go back out. I'm going to go back up to my plus sign. I'm going to go over to photos or videos. So based off the fact that most of us have artifacts from session 1 that we can reference, and you can kind of play around with this. In terms of photos and videos, I had a great takeout dinner from Publix, and I want to go ahead and drop in that plate of food. Maybe I'm doing an app and we're referencing a good dish, or I'm doing a Yelp page. So I'm going to pull that video in. Please be mindful, if they're pulling from their phone and it's going through the iCloud, there may be a slight delay, but otherwise it will drop right on in. I'm going to use my fingers to manipulate the bottom left, top right corners to decrease the size of my image. I can also double tap on the image, and I can zoom in if I want to focus in on just that plate of food minus the fork and those carrots, that fried okra. I know you're getting hungry. Sorry. I can go ahead and do some instant cropping And then I can now manipulate and zoom out. And I'm just going to place that right there. I'm going to leave that relatively in the middle of my screen just because I'm going to do some hyperlinking later. I'm going to just type here, double tap and type in food so that we can have just some text on our slide. I'm going to double tap and have just a yummy comment. If I want to delete something, all you need to do is tap and hold down, and you have the option of cutting, copy, delete, comment, link, or animate. So I'm going to go ahead and delete. Let's go ahead and add a video. Maybe they want to record a welcome for their prototype. So I'm going to let's grab this 5-second video so it doesn't take up too much space, or I'll grab this 9-second. We'll grab that one. And I'm just going to go ahead and use, since I know what it is, and it's going to prepare the video for me. I have the ability to do some trimming at the top if I want to, but I'm going to drop it in the way that it is. And again, this is kind of showing some of those interactive features about why Keynote is preferred over PowerPoint, and because just the interface between the Apple products, their iCloud, and getting us what we need. So I have that, and I'm going to just zoom down and slide over. And if I double tap on it, it will play the video. So again, I have that ability to do that there as well. And let's go ahead and start thinking about some hyperlinks. So at this point, I'm going to go to that plus sign, add another slide. And I'm going to go to my slide 2, copy, go to slide 3, hold down on my screen and paste. Have my nice little dinner menu there. And with hyperlink, there's a couple of things that you want to go ahead and have established beforehand. And I recommend as a team, we go ahead and have these features built in and not even address it on Saturday for our participants. I'm going to go up to the top to the radio buttons, and I'm going to go down to settings. From settings, I'm going to go to presentation type. We want this presentation to allow our users to operate as an actual app prototype. In order to do that, we need to change our presentation settings from normal to links only. This will allow, or basically tell the PowerPoint, we're going to be manipulating all of these from the hyperlink. So when I click on the hyperlink, it should go exactly where I need it to go and operate more like a prototype and less like a PowerPoint or a traditional Keynote presentation. So please make sure that you do that. But again, we're going to go ahead and already have this established when we set up our template files for Saturday. Now we're ready to manipulate those hyperlinks. So I'm on slide 1. Let's go back to slide 1. So I'm going to go ahead and touch on slide 1. And I would like to add a home button, or sorry, I would like to have a link to slide 2. So I'm going to go ahead and add a image. So I'm going to click on that plus button, shapes. I'm going to type in arrow for the sake of time. There's my arrow. Just so we can see it, let's go ahead and make it yellow. And now I'm going to have it just in the middle of my screen so I know to send it to the next slide. In order to do that, you want to make sure that you have your radio buttons or those 4 circles around the object that you're trying to hyperlink. I'm going to click and hold down, and you will see that I have an option to link. So I'm going to click link. And from here, I want this arrow to go to slide, and I'm going to use my first option, slide, sorry, excuse me, link to slide number 2. So let's go back through that again. I'm going to remove that link. I have my image that I've added. I'm going to click and hold down, or basically tap once. I'm going to go over to link. We're linking to a slide. I want to link to slide number 2. Now, please don't be tempted by the other choices that you see on the screen. If you have it linked to the next slide or a previous slide, you're making the assumption that you're not adding anything extra to your prototype. When you tell the prototype, or when you tell Keynote to link to a specific slide, it's going to look for those particular features and kind of keep it connected to what is slide 2. So if I add another slide above slide 2, it will know to move that slide 2 is now slide 3, and that button should follow this slide, not just the next slide. Let's go ahead and take a look at what that will actually mean so it'll make sense. I'm going to go in and I'm going to actually add another slide, and I've added it right above 3. Let's go back and check and see where that arrow has gone. Remember, we initially had it linked to slide, what was once slide 2. Now if we go back and check, it's now linked to slide 3. So it knows that as I continue to build my prototype, that arrow should follow slide 3. If it becomes later slide 15, that arrow is always linked to that slide. So that's one of those really cool features, but it's important that you have your participants link to a specific slide, not the next slide or the previous slide. Okay, so now let's go down to slide number 3, and I want to have my hyperlink for this image to go to slide 4. Let's just go ahead and review those steps. I'm going to tap once, go to link, link to slide. Our choice is number 4, and we're done. And the cool thing about it is you do have that hyperlink symbol to let you know that it has been linked. Let's just do one more. I now want to have my globe go back to slide 1. So I'm going to click on my image, select link, link to slide, and slide 1. That is pretty much going to be the process for the entire prototyping experience, in which they're adding images, doing hyperlinks, and creating their designs. So they have the ability, if I go back under the add feature, to again add those shapes. For images, they can pull images from their camera or take a picture directly from their camera. So let me see if I can do this without logging out of Zoom. So I can. Selfies are tough when you're recording a Zoom session. So I can use that photo. So I can do real-time images. I'm going to double tap and zoom in so it's more of a selfie. Yay. So I have that I can add, and I can add photos or videos, or I can record audio. So let's just do that super quick on slide 2, add, record audio. I'm doing a Zoom session and recording while I'm doing a Zoom session. And stop, preview. I'm doing a Zoom session and recording while I'm doing a Zoom session. I can edit, so I can trim some of these features down. Let's go ahead and trim that here and trim there. And we're going to testing. I'm doing a Zoom session and recording while I'm doing a Zoom session. Testing, yep. And then I'm just going to drop that, and I now have a nice little radio button. So they have the opportunity next or sorry, not next week. I'm already thinking about the showcase. They have the opportunity on Saturday to truly see the values of coding and creating. The coding comes in terms of reinforcing Super Saturday session 1. The coding comes in because they really need to think about the commands that they want to see on the various layers of their prototype. What do I want to see in my particular prototype? What does this particular button need to do? What is its feature or its value? So that's where all the coding comes in terms of the commands. Also, the sequence of their slides is the interface and the user experience in a proper order that would navigate your audience or your user through the app effectively. Then when you're talking about debugging, let's say that when I hit play, I touch on that arrow and it doesn't go to the slide that I want it to go to. Or let's see, I hit that home button, it goes back home, but how do I get to slide 2 and listen to my recording? I didn't prototype it and design it that way. That way now I can go ahead and go out of my presentation and then debug and figure out I need to have maybe that button now linked to my slide so I can always go back home. That's the other nice feature. If I go ahead and click on this globe, copy and paste, notice the hyperlink stays with the image. So I don't have to go back through and hyperlink every single slide and create a new home button. I can just copy and paste it on the slides that need that particular feature. So I'm going to paste it one more time on my slide 4. Oh, let's paste. Boop. So I have my home button on all of my slides. One last thing before I end this recording is when I hit play, you notice that there is not a button that allows me to go forward or backwards in Keynote. This is a really tricky thing and it may throw you off if you're not aware of this when you're in front of your audience. If I want to go back out of my Keynote to edit, or I want to exit my presentation, all I need to do is pinch the screen and it will immediately take you out of your Keynote presentation and back to your edit screen. So let's just kind of recap. 1, in terms of our task on Saturday, we have a great opportunity to watch them code and create simultaneously. Our responsibility, as Dr. Melton mentioned, is to make sure that they feel comfortable to go through this experience and to use us as a resource, not as teachers or lecturers of Keynote. We're going to show them what they need and then kind of take the questions as they emerge. We don't want to overwhelm them because they don't have the full week experience that we had if we went to Houston or if we participated in the HBCU Academy. So if they're not asking about specifications and user interface and things like that, don't overwhelm them with that. Give them the support that they need, allow them the opportunity to code and create, and we can kind of address and talk about those key terms as they feel as a good fit. But we know that there's a lot of other things going on Saturday, so we don't want to overwhelm them on that. 2, please make sure that they are aware of those key features, particularly under the add or that plus symbol. We recognize, again, that they will probably be working under those last 2 features, whether they're adding images or real life things from their device, and also pulling things down from the internet where they may be saving in their camera roll or their gallery, or using the images that are already available in the Keynote gallery. 3, for your own purposes, it's important for you to have the Playgrounds app journal downloaded on your device and take the time between now and Saturday to review those features. A lot of the things are support slides that basically walk you through the actual process. They're going to be doing modules 5 through 7 at an overwhelming rate. And what I mean by that is they're going to go from brainstorming to prototyping, back to planning to prototyping. And we want them to get messy. So our responsibility with regards to Keynote is to honor the design that they have put on paper. So they're going to start off with paper, as Dr. Melton indicated on the call, get messy, start laying out their ideas, and then helping them to matriculate their paper ideas into a digital format. If they ask for colors and different things like that, we can have a conversation with them within their individual groups, but let's try not to overwhelm them with fancy features that may get them too distracted from the components of their apps. Build the house first, decorate later. Finally, I'm going to share with you this particular document, and they're most likely going to be working from either the white face iPhone or the black face iPhone to build their template. And I'm pretty sure that 90% of the group will probably work from the white face iPhone, just because they can see the buttons and the features already there. And you'll notice at the bottom, there are already buttons available for them to go ahead and tap on and change the title of the buttons that they like. So they have a lot of resources just to kind of help them get through the prototyping experience. But for us, we need to be happy, flexible facilitators that are always happy and motivating them throughout the process. With that being said, thank you so much for listening to this recording. And if you have any questions, please make note of them so that when we get to the Zoom session on Thursday, that we can address them, because I know that it's in the evening and I want to be respectful of your time and make sure that we can stay focused and then get you what you need so that we can be an effective team on Saturday. Okay, so that's it for me. I will see you online on Saturday if I don't see you on campus beforehand. So have a great day.